March 6, 1940, 10:47 a.m. Kollaa River, eastern Finland. The temperature is negative 40 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze spit before it hits the ground, cold enough to make your lungs burn with every breath, cold enough to kill you in minutes if you're not prepared. Simo Häyhä has been lying in the same position for 11 hours. He hasn't moved, hasn't shifted his weight, hasn't stretched a single cramping muscle. 400 meters away, through a maze of snow-laden pine trees, a Soviet soldier is scanning the tree line with binoculars, searching for him. The Soviet doesn't know he's already dead. Häyhä's rifle, a Finnish M2830, serial number 60974, rests against his shoulder. No telescopic sight, just iron sights. Two simple pieces of metal you line up with your target and your eye. At 400 meters through dense forest, in these conditions, it should be impossible. Häyhä exhales slowly. The crosshairs settle. His finger tightens on the trigger. One shot. The Soviet drops. Fifth kill of the day. It's not even noon yet. This is the 98th day of the Winter War. In 2 more days, Simo Häyhä's face will be destroyed by an explosive bullet. But right now, he's the most terrifying thing in Finland. Because in 100 days, this 5'3" farmer will kill more enemy soldiers than any sniper in recorded history. 505 confirmed kills. Some say over 700 if you count his submachine gun work. All without a scope, most in temperatures that would kill an unprepared man in under an hour. And according to the Finnish soldiers who fought beside him, he did it with a slight smile on his face. I'm going to tell you how. Let me set the scene for you. December 1939, the Kollaa River sector in eastern Finland. Picture this: dense boreal forest, pine trees so thick you can barely see 50 meters in any direction, snow 3 feet deep in places, frozen lakes, narrow logging roads, temperature averaging -30 to -40 Celsius. That's -22 to -40 Fahrenheit for my American friends. Cold enough that metal burns your skin on contact. Cold enough that weapons jam if you don't maintain them perfectly. And into this frozen hell, the Soviet Union has poured 500,000 men, 500,000 soldiers, 2,100 tanks, 3,500 aircraft, artillery batteries that stretch for miles. The Red Army, fresh off defeating Poland, expects to crush Finland in 2 weeks. Maybe 3 if the Finns are stubborn. Standing in their way, 300,000 Finnish defenders, most of them farmers and factory workers who learned to shoot hunting elk and bear in these same forests. Virtually no tanks, barely any anti-tank weapons. A handful of obsolete aircraft. The mathematics are simple. Finland should have been erased from the map by Christmas. But in one sector, a narrow strip of forest along the Kollaa River, 32 Finnish soldiers are holding off 4,000 Soviets. Day after day, week after week, the Soviets keep attacking. The Finns keep killing them. And at the center of this impossible defense is one man, one rifle, 100 days of frozen hell. How does a quiet farmer become history's deadliest ghost? That's the story I'm going to tell you, and I promise you, it's more unbelievable than any war movie you've ever seen. The Soviets have a name for him: Belaya Smrt, the White Death. Their soldiers whisper it in the frozen trenches. Officers mention it in reports they'd rather not write. Political commissars try to suppress the rumors because they're destroying morale faster than Finnish bullets. Here's what Soviet soldiers know. Somewhere in the snow, there's a Finnish sniper who kills with mechanical precision. He appears from nowhere, fires one shot, disappears like smoke. By the time you find his position, he's gone, set up somewhere else, waiting. Men are terrified to show themselves. Officers can barely get troops to advance. Entire companies refuse orders to patrol certain sectors. He sees you before you see him, one captured Soviet soldier tells his interrogators. And once he sees you, you're already dead. You just don't know it yet. Soviet command responds the only way they know how. They send counter-sniper teams, elite marksmen from the NKVD, men trained specifically to hunt enemy snipers, men who've killed German snipers on the Eastern Front, men with the best equipment the Soviet Union can provide. Häyhä kills them all, every single one. The counter-snipers arrive confident. They have scoped rifles, they have training, they have the support of their comrades, they set up in carefully chosen positions, they watch, they wait, and then they die, usually without ever seeing their killer, so the Soviets try something else. Artillery. If you can't shoot the sniper, blow up the entire area he's operating in. Soviet batteries begin firing pre-planned barrages on suspected sniper positions. Dozens of shells, sometimes hundreds. Trees explode into splinters. Snow erupts in black geysers of earth and ice. The noise is apocalyptic. Nothing could survive that. Nothing. Except by the time the barrage lifts and Soviet troops advance to check the damage, Häyhä has already relocated. He's set up in a new position, watching them, waiting for them to get close enough, and then he starts killing again. Why couldn't anyone stop him? That's the question Soviet commanders kept asking. That's the question that kept them awake at night. The answer is simple and terrifying. Simo Häyhä wasn't just a good shot. He was a perfectionist who'd spent 20 years hunting in these exact forests. He knew terrain, he knew weather, he knew exactly how to disappear in plain sight. Let me tell you about his technique, because this is where it gets truly insane. First, the snow in his mouth. In negative 40-degree weather, your breath creates vapor, visible clouds, of steam every time you exhale. It's like waving a flag that says, "I'm here, shoot me." Häyhä packed his mouth with snow, kept it there for hours. The snow would melt slowly. He'd swallow the water, but his breath? Invisible. Second, the snow mounds. Before taking position, he'd build a small packed snow barrier in front of his rifle, just 6 inches high. When he fired, the muzzle blast would kick up snow and powder. The mound absorbed most of it. No telltale puff of snow to give away his position. From 400 meters away, it was impossible to spot. Third, and this is the detail everyone asks about, no telescopic sight. Think about that for a second. Every modern sniper uses a scope, magnification, precision, the ability to identify targets at extreme distances. Häyhä refused. Why? 3 reasons. First, a scoped rifle creates a larger silhouette, makes you easier to spot against the skyline. Second, scopes can create glare, sunlight reflecting off the glass. It's like hanging a mirror in a tree. Any competent counter-sniper will spot that glare and put a bullet right through it. Third, in extreme cold, scopes fog up. Moisture from your eye freezes on the lens. You're blind when you need to shoot most. Häyhä used iron sights exclusively, 2 pieces of metal. No magnification, no glare, no fogging. Just pure skill, muscle memory, and an innate sense of distance that most people simply don't possess. He could estimate range to within 1 meter, up to 150 meters. Beyond that, he relied on experience, years of shooting elk and bear in these forests. He knew how wind affected bullets. He knew how cold air changed trajectories. He knew how to compensate for targets moving through trees. And he was fast, incredibly fast. His personal record, verified by witnesses, was 16 shots in 1 minute with a bolt-action rifle. That's loading, aiming, firing, working the bolt, and acquiring a new target. 16 times. In 60 seconds. What made this man different? Practice. Obsessive, relentless practice. But there's more to it than that. There's something psychological. Something that turns a normal man into a machine that kills without hesitation or remorse. Something we're going to explore as this story unfolds. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Because right now, in March 1940, Simo Häyhä is already a legend, already immortal in Finnish history, already the nightmare that Soviet soldiers whisper about in the frozen dark. But 6 weeks earlier? 6 weeks earlier, he wasn't a legend. He was just a farmer, 34 years old, 5'3", maybe 150 pounds soaking wet. A man who wanted nothing more than to tend his farm, hunt in the autumn, and live a quiet life near the Russian border. And then, on November 30th, 1939, Simo Häyhä heard the worst news of his life. The Soviet Union, the largest military power on earth, was invading Finland, and every able-bodied man was being called to fight. What happened next would change history, would inspire a nation, would create a legend that still echoes through military academies 80 years later. But it started with one man, one rifle, and a simple decision. Show up, do your job, come home, stay with me, because what happens next is going to shock you. December 17, 1905, Outnumbered, Finland. A farming village so close to the Russian border you can walk there in an afternoon. Juho and Katrina Häyhä welcomed their 7th child into the world. A boy, small even for a newborn. They named him Simo. Nobody in that Lutheran farmhouse could have predicted what this tiny child would become. Nobody could have imagined that this boy, one of 8 children in a family that barely scraped by, would one day make the Soviet Union tremble. But if you knew where to look, the signs were there from the beginning. The Häyhä family lived the way Finnish farmers had lived for centuries. Hard work, discipline, self-reliance. The Russian border was less than 30 kilometers away, but it might as well have been on another planet. The Häyhäs were Finnish. Their land was Finnish. Their loyalty was to Finland. Simo grew up in wilderness that would kill the unprepared. Winters where temperatures dropped to -40. Summers of endless daylight and clouds of mosquitoes. Dense boreal forests of pine and spruce, frozen lakes, bogs that could swallow a man whole. This wasn't a place for the weak. By age 6, Simo was helping with farm work. By age 8, his father was teaching him to hunt. By age 10, he could track a deer through snow, estimate distance to within a few meters, and make shots that grown men missed. His father, Juho, gave him advice that would shape everything. Patience and practice beat strength every time. Simo took it to heart. While other boys were playing, Simo was shooting. While other teenagers were chasing girls, Simo was in the forest, hunting, practicing, perfecting. He wasn't antisocial, just focused, obsessively focused. By age 17, Simo Häyhä's home was already filled with shooting competition trophies. Let me tell you about one shot in particular, the one that made people realize this quiet farm boy was something special, a regional shooting competition in Viipuri. Simo is 17 years old, 5'3", maybe 140 pounds, standing next to men twice his size who've been shooting since before he was born. The challenge? 16 shots at 150 meters. Bolt-action rifle, 60 seconds. Think about what that means. You have to load, aim, fire, work the bolt to eject the spent cartridge, load a new round, acquire the target again, and repeat, 16 times. In 1 minute, most competitive shooters would be thrilled with 10 hits. 12 would be exceptional. Simo hit 16 out of 16. Perfect score. In 60 seconds. With iron sights. Major Antero Saarelainen, a decorated Finnish army officer judging the competition, walks over afterward. Studies this small teenager who just humiliated shooters 3 times his age. That, Saarelainen says slowly, is an unbelievable accomplishment. Simo just nods, doesn't smile, doesn't boast, just breaks down his rifle and walks home. But here's what nobody understood yet. It wasn't just accuracy. Simo could estimate distance to within 1 meter up to 150 meters. Just by looking. No rangefinder, no laser measurement. Pure instinct developed from thousands of hours in the forest. That skill, that almost supernatural ability to judge distance would become his greatest weapon. In 1925, every able-bodied Finnish man had to complete mandatory military service. Simo was 19 years old when he reported for duty. Still small, still quiet, still possessed of an intensity that made officers take notice. He was assigned to the bicycle battalion. Don't let the name fool you, this wasn't some joke unit. Bicycle battalions were elite light infantry, fast-moving, self-sufficient, operating independently in terrain where vehicles couldn't go. Perfect for the Finnish wilderness, perfect for someone like Simo. He excelled, not just at shooting, though his marksmanship scores were off the charts, but at everything: land navigation, camouflage, fieldcraft, the ability to endure discomfort without complaint. By the end of his service, he'd been promoted to corporal. When he returned to civilian life in 1926, his commanders noted in his file, "Exceptional soldier, natural marksman, recommend for advanced training if war comes." For 12 years, war didn't come. Simo went back to farming, back to hunting, back to the quiet life he preferred. He bought more land, built a better house, competed in shooting competitions on weekends. Then, in 1938, at age 33, the Finnish military called him back. Advanced sniper training at WWII Jaeger Regiment. 4 weeks of intensive instruction in tactics, camouflage, advanced marksmanship. Simo absorbed everything. Then went home to his farm. He thought his fighting days were over. He was wrong. Because while Simo was tending his farm, political forces beyond his control were about to destroy his world. August 23, 1939. Moscow, Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov and German Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop sign a non-aggression pact between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. The public version talks about peace and cooperation. The secret protocol, the one that wouldn't be revealed for decades, divides Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. Finland is assigned to the Soviet sphere. Stalin wants territory, a buffer zone around Leningrad, naval bases, land. He makes demands: cede this territory, lease us that island, let us build military bases on your soil. The Finnish government refuses. Finland has been independent for barely 20 years. They're not giving it up without a fight. October 1939, negotiations in Moscow. Soviet delegates make it clear, give us what we want or we'll take it. Finnish delegates return home. The message is delivered to every military unit, every civil defense organization, every able-bodied man. War is coming. November 30th, 1939. 9 a.m. Soviet artillery opens fire on Finnish cities. Helsinki, Viipuri, towns along the border. Hundreds of guns firing simultaneously. The invasion has begun. Across the 1,300-kilometer border, Soviet forces pour into Finland. 500,000 men, 2,200 tanks, 2,000 aircraft. The largest military operation since World War I. Facing them, 300,000 Finnish defenders, virtually no tanks, maybe 40 obsolete aircraft, anti-tank weapons so scarce that soldiers are issued Molotov cocktails, gasoline in bottles, and told to throw them at Soviet armor. The world watches. Foreign military analysts give Finland 2 weeks, maybe 3 if they're stubborn. Then the Soviet Union will add another conquered territory to its collection. Nobody expects Finland to survive, but nobody has accounted for men like Simo Häyhä. The call comes to his farm on December 1st. Mobilization papers. Report immediately to 6th Company, Infantry Regiment 34. Destination, Kollaa River sector. Simo reads the orders. Doesn't curse, doesn't cry. Just walks to his closet and pulls out his rifle. The M2830, serial number 60974, a Finnish-made Mosin-Nagant variant. He's owned this rifle for years, modified it specifically for his small frame, shortened the stock, adjusted the sights, fired tens of thousands of rounds through it. This rifle knows him. He knows it. He packs his kit: white winter camouflage, wool layers, ammunition, a knife, sugar cubes for quick energy. Then he says goodbye to his family and walks out into the snow. December 3, 1939. Simo reports to the Kollaa River sector. Temperature, -30 Celsius. His company commander, a lieutenant who looks barely old enough to shave, briefs the assembled soldiers. His voice is steady, but his hands shake. We're outnumbered 12-1, maybe worse. The Soviets have tanks, artillery, air support. We have rifles and the forest. Command expects us to hold this sector. I don't know how long. I don't know if we can. He pauses, looks at the men. But we're going to try. Simo Häyhä doesn't say anything, just nods once, grabs his rifle, walks toward the tree line. Other soldiers are digging trenches, building fortifications, arguing about fields of fire. Simo walks past all of it, alone. He knows where he needs to be, 400 meters into the forest. A small rise, good sight lines, background of dense trees, multiple escape routes. He packs snow into a small mound, clears a firing lane, tests the wind, settles into position. Temperature -30. Soviet columns advancing through the forest 2 kilometers away. Simo can hear them. Engines, shouted orders in Russian, the clank of equipment. They'll be here in 5 hours. And when they arrive, Simo Häyhä will fire his first shot as a wartime sniper. In 5 weeks, Soviet soldiers will have a new nightmare. A legend whispered in frozen trenches. A ghost in white who kills without mercy and disappears without a trace. The White Death is about to be born. December 1939. The Kollaa River sector. Let me paint you a picture of the battlefield. Imagine dense boreal forest stretching for hundreds of kilometers. Pine and spruce trees so thick that visibility drops to 50 meters in most places. Snow 3 to 4 feet deep. Frozen lakes that look solid but hide patches of thin ice that'll kill you if you step wrong. A handful of narrow logging roads, the only routes Soviet armor can use. This is nightmare terrain for an invading army. And perfect terrain for defenders who know every tree, every trail, every hiding spot. The Finns have a strategy. They call it Matti tactics. The word means a measured stack of firewood, logs cut to precise lengths and stacked for burning. But in warfare, it means something terrifying. Encirclement, division, and destruction. Here's how it works. Soviet columns advance down those narrow roads. They can't spread out. The forest is too dense, the snow too deep. They're channeled, predictable, vulnerable. Finnish units let them advance. Then they attack from the sides and rear. Cut the column into segments. Surround each segment. Destroy them one piece at a time. It's working. Against all odds, it's working. But the Soviets have advantages too. Overwhelming numbers. Artillery that can level forests. Air power. Tanks. They just keep coming. Wave after wave. Replacing losses faster than the Finns can inflict them. Except in one sector. Simo Häyhä's sector. In Simo's section of the Kollaa line, 32 Finnish soldiers are holding off more than 4,000 Soviets. Not just holding, dominating. The Soviets attack. They die. They attack again. More die. They stop attacking that sector and try flanking maneuvers. Those fail too. Because Simo isn't just defending, he's hunting. December 7th, 1939. 1 week into the war. Simo Häyhä records his 12th confirmed kill. 12 doesn't sound like much. 12 enemy soldiers out of thousands. But here's what those 12 kills represent. Soviet officers dead. Machine gunners eliminated before they can set up. Forward observers killed before they can call in artillery. Key targets, high-value targets, and something else. Terror. Let me tell you about Simo's method. Because this is where you understand why he was so effective. He moves before dawn, in complete darkness. Temperature -35, -40 Celsius. He's wearing layers of wool under white camouflage, face wrapped except for his eyes. He carries his rifle, ammunition, sugar cubes for quick energy, a piece of black bread frozen solid. He finds his position, sometimes the same spot as yesterday, sometimes somewhere new. It depends on Soviet patterns, wind direction, sun angle. Then he settles in and doesn't move for 10 hours, 12 hours sometimes, in temperatures that would kill an unprepared man in 30 minutes. Complete stillness. He doesn't shift weight, doesn't scratch an itch, doesn't stretch cramping muscles. He breathes slowly, keeps his heart rate down, becomes part of the landscape. Soviet patrols walk within 20 meters sometimes. They're looking for him, scanning the tree line, nervous, trigger-happy. They never see him. And here's the technique that made him invisible, the details that turned a good sniper into a ghost. First, no telescopic sight. I mentioned this before, but let me explain why it mattered so much. A scoped rifle creates a larger silhouette. When you're trying to hide in snow and trees, every centimeter counts. Soviet counter-snipers are looking for that distinctive shape, the long tube of a scope, the way it breaks up the natural lines of a rifle. Simo's M2830 with iron sights. It looks like a stick, just another branch in the forest. Second reason, lens glare. In the low-angle winter sun of Finland, a scope's glass can create reflections visible for hundreds of meters. It's like hanging a mirror in a tree and wondering why people spot you. Soviet observers are trained to watch for that glare. Iron sights? No glass. No glare. Invisible. Third reason, in negative 40-degree cold, scopes fog up. Moisture from your eye, from your breath, condenses on the lens and freezes. You're wiping it constantly. Every movement is a chance to be spotted, and when you need to take a shot, you're blind. Iron sights don't fog, ever. But using iron sights at 400 meters requires supernatural skill. Skill Simo spent 20 years developing. Next technique, snow in his mouth. Soviet scouts are trained to watch for breath vapor. In extreme cold, every exhale creates a visible cloud. It's a dead giveaway. Simo packs his mouth with clean snow before taking position. The snow melts slowly throughout the day. He swallows the water. But his breath passes through the cold snow. No vapor, no cloud. Invisible. His fellow soldiers report watching him return from 12-hour shifts with ice still packed in his cheeks. Third technique, the snow mound. Before settling into position, Simo builds a small barrier of packed snow in front of his rifle, maybe 6 inches high, 10 inches wide. When he fires, the muzzle blast kicks up snow and powder. The barrier absorbs most of it. From the Soviet side, there's no telltale puff that marks a shooter's location. Combined with his white camouflage and the natural background of snow and trees, he's impossible to spot. Fourth, position selection. Simo never sets up in obvious places, not the highest ground, not the clearest sight lines. He chooses positions with natural backgrounds, trees behind him to break up his outline, multiple escape routes, overlapping fields of fire. He can shoot from this position, then low crawl 30 meters to another position. Soviet return fire hits empty snow. And finally, distance estimation. That skill he developed hunting elk in these exact forests. He can look at a Soviet soldier 400 meters away and know precisely how to aim, how much to adjust for wind, for cold air density, for the target's movement. Most snipers need a spotter, someone with binoculars and a rangefinder calling corrections. Simo works alone. By the second week of December, his kill count reaches 45. By the third week, 87. Soviet soldiers are refusing to advance in certain areas. Officers are executing men for cowardice, but it doesn't help. The fear is too deep. They start calling him Belaya Smrt, the White Death. The name spreads through Soviet units like a virus. Troops in sectors far from Kollaa hear the stories. The ghost in white, the sniper who never misses, the man who sees you before you see him. Finnish propaganda seizes on it. Radio broadcasts mention the White Death. Newspapers run stories. It's exactly what Finnish morale needs. Proof that the Soviets can be beaten, that one determined Finn is worth 100 Soviet conscripts. Kollaa kestää becomes the rallying cry. Kollaa holds. Soviet command responds with escalating desperation. First, counter-snipers. The NKVD sends their best, men with scoped rifles and orders to kill the White Death at any cost. Simo kills them, every single one. He spots them first, maybe because of scope glare, maybe because of their movement, and eliminates them before they ever see him. One Soviet sniper lasts 4 days, manages to wound a Finnish soldier. Then Simo identifies his hide, waits. The moment the Soviet shifts position, Simo fires. One shot through the head at 300 meters. Second, artillery. Soviet batteries begin firing pre-planned barrages on suspected sniper positions. The math is simple. If we can't find him, we'll destroy the entire area. Hundreds of shells, trees exploding, snow erupting in black fountains of frozen earth. The noise is apocalyptic. Simo hears the first shells coming. He's already moving. By the time the barrage ends, he's 500 meters away. In a new position, watching Soviet infantry advance to check the damage. He kills 3 of them before they realize the White Death is still alive. Third, machine gun suppression. Soviet units begin laying down heavy fire on suspected positions. Thousands of rounds. The idea is to either kill him or force him to keep his head down. It doesn't work. Simo waits for them to reload, then kills the machine gunners. The psychological effect on Soviet troops is devastating. They're not just scared, they're broken. Reports filter back to Soviet command, soldiers seeing ghosts, refusing to patrol, shooting at shadows. Entire units reporting, "The forest has eyes." One captured Soviet lieutenant tells his interrogators, "He's not human. No human could do what he does. He must be a devil." Finnish morale, meanwhile, is soaring. Every confirmed kill Simo makes is another proof that Finland can survive. That courage and skill can overcome Soviet numbers. January 1940, 22 days into the new year. Simo's kill count, 138. He's averaging more than 6 kills per each day. In limited daylight, Finnish winter gives you maybe 4 to 5 hours of usable light. Each shot precisely planned, each kill methodical. His record day, 25 confirmed kills, 25 Soviet soldiers dead in one 5-hour window. Think about what that means. Roughly 1 kill every 12 minutes, for 5 straight hours. In negative 40-degree cold. It's not spray and pray. It's not suppressing fire. It's 25 carefully aimed shots. 25 dead men who never saw their killer. News reaches Finnish high command. They can barely believe it. A corporal, a farmer, is inflicting casualties that entire platoons can't match. A Swedish businessman, a supporter of Finnish independence, donates a custom rifle, high-quality optics, precision manufactured. It's presented to Simo by Colonel Antero Svensson in a small ceremony behind the lines. Simo accepts graciously. Thanks the colonel, inspects the rifle professionally, then he hands it back. "This is a beautiful weapon," he says quietly, "but I'll keep using my M2830. Someone asks why. Simo runs his hand along the worn stock of his old rifle, serial number 60974, the rifle he's modified for his small frame, the rifle he's fired tens of thousands of rounds through. "This one knows me," he says. "I know it." He returns to the front with his old rifle. Keeps killing. February 25th, 1940, day 96 of the Winter War. Simo Häyhä's confirmed kill count exceeds 500. Soviet High Command receives reports. They can't ignore it anymore. 500 men dead, dozens of counter-snipers killed, entire sectors paralyzed by fear of one Finnish sniper. An order goes out. Priority 1, kill the White Death, any cost, any method. March 6th, 1940. Morning, temperature negative 25 Celsius. Simo Häyhä wakes before dawn, eats a piece of bread, drinks melted snow, checks his rifle, then walks into the forest like he's done every day for 98 days. He finds his position, packs snow in his mouth, settles in. Invisible. What Simo doesn't know, can't know, is that for the past week a Soviet counter-sniper has been studying patterns, not trying to find Simo's hide, studying timing, movement, the mathematical probability of position selection. This Soviet sniper is different, patient, skilled, armed with an experimental explosive round. And today, for the first time in 98 days, he's guessed right. This will be Simo Häyhä's last day in the snow, but not the way anyone expects. March 6, 1940, day 98 of the Winter War. Simo Häyhä wakes at 4:30 a.m., same as every morning, temperature negative 25 Celsius. Cold, but not the savage negative 40 of December. Almost pleasant by comparison. He eats a piece of black bread, drinks melted snow from his canteen, checks his rifle, M2830, serial number 60974. Loads 5 rounds, slides 20 more into his pocket. By 5:15 a.m., he's in position, 400 meters into the forest, snow packed in his mouth, white camouflage blending perfectly with the landscape. Invisible. The sun rises late this far north in winter. By 8 o'clock a.m., there's enough light to shoot. By 9:30 a.m., Simo has killed his first Soviet soldier of the day. A forward observer trying to spot artillery targets. One shot, 420 meters. The Soviet drops without a sound. By 11:00 a.m., he's killed his second, a lieutenant rallying troops for an advance, 350 meters, through gaps in the trees. The lieutenant falls mid-sentence. Simo settles back into position, scans for new targets. His breath, filtered through the snow in his mouth, is invisible. His rifle creates no glare. He's been here for 6 hours. He'll stay 6 more if necessary. He has no idea this is his last morning alive as Simo Häyhä, the White Death. 500 meters away, a Soviet sniper has been watching. Not watching Simo directly. That's impossible. Watching patterns, probabilities, mathematics. This Soviet isn't like the others. He's older, 45 years old, a veteran of the Russian Civil War. He's killed German snipers, Polish snipers, Ukrainian partisans. He's patient, methodical. And he's spent the last week studying every report of White Death sightings, not trying to find Simo's exact position. That's a fool's game. Instead, analyzing timing, distance patterns, angles of fire, building a probability map. This morning, he positioned himself based on that analysis, not where Simo is, where Simo is most likely to be. And for the first time in 98 days, someone guessed right. The Soviet sniper has been in position since before dawn. He's using a scoped Mosin Nagant, and he's loaded something special, an experimental explosive round, designed to kill even if you don't hit center mass. The bullet fragments on impact creates massive trauma. He's been watching the area where Simo should be, waiting for movement, for a muzzle flash, for anything. At 11:45 a.m., Simo shifts position slightly, adjusts his aim, maybe 30 centimeters of movement. It's enough. The Soviet sniper sees it, a slight disturbance in the snow. He doesn't aim for center mass. That's what conventional training teaches, but this isn't a conventional target. If the White Death is wearing body armor, if he's positioned behind cover, a center mass shot might not kill him, so the Soviet aims higher. Aims for the head. 11:47 a.m. The shot breaks the frozen silence. The explosive round strikes Simo Häyhä in the lower left jaw. His face explodes. The bullet doesn't just penetrate, it fragments. Tears through jawbone, blows out his left cheek, destroys tissue, muscle, blood vessels. The left side of his face simply ceases to exist in any recognizable form. Simo drops, unconscious before he hits the snow. His rifle falls beside him, Blood pours from the catastrophic wound, turns the white snow crimson. He's not moving, not breathing normally, just small, shallow gasps, his body going into shock. 200 meters away, Finnish soldiers hear the shot. They know that sound. They've heard it 98 times before when Simo fired. But this is different. Wrong direction, wrong cadence. A corporal, Veli Karhunen, realizes what happened. That was incoming. Someone check Häyhä's position. 3 soldiers sprint through the snow, rifles ready, expecting ambush. They find Simo lying in blood-soaked snow. His position, carefully constructed, perfectly camouflaged, now marked by spreading red. Jesus Christ, one of them whispers. Half his face is missing. Karhunen drops to his knees, checks for a pulse. It's there, weak, thready. Simo's breathing is gurgling, wet, blood filling what's left of his mouth. He's alive. Get a medic. Now. They can't move him here. Soviet machine guns open up, suppressing fire. The shooter knows he hit someone important. Soviet infantry are already advancing to confirm the kill. The Finns return fire, drag Simo backward through the snow. His blood leaves a trail. His rifle, serial number 60974, is grabbed by another soldier. They're not leaving it for the Soviets. 50 meters back, then 100, finally behind Finnish lines. The medic arrives, takes one look at Simo's face and goes pale. I don't know how he's still breathing, the medic says. His jaw is gone, cheek is gone. I can see. He stops, doesn't finish, just starts packing the wound with gauze, trying to stop the bleeding, trying to save a life that by all rights should already be over. They load Simo onto a stretcher. 4 men carry him at a run toward the field hospital, 2 kilometers through snow and frozen forest, under sporadic artillery fire. Simo doesn't wake, doesn't move, just those shallow, gurgling breaths. At the field hospital, the surgeon takes one look and shakes his head. I can't do anything for him here. He needs a real hospital, proper surgical facilities. Will he make it that far? The surgeon doesn't answer immediately, studies the wound, the amount of blood loss, the severity of the trauma. Maybe, maybe not, but he has no chance here. They evacuate him again, this time by ambulance, 300 kilometers to a hospital in Kotka. The roads are rough, every bump jostles Simo's destroyed face. But he doesn't wake, doesn't scream. His body has shut down everything non-essential, focusing every resource on staying alive. At Kotka Hospital, surgeons work for 6 hours. The damage is catastrophic. His jaw is completely destroyed. His left cheek is missing. Blood vessels are severed. Nerves are shredded. They rebuild what they can, use bone grafts, suture tissue that barely exists. When they're done, the head surgeon tells the staff, I give him less than 10% chance of survival. If he makes it through the night, it'll be a miracle. If he makes it through the week, I'll personally thank God. Simo is sedated, unconscious, bandaged so heavily that only his right eye is visible. Tubes drain blood and fluid from what's left of his face. His breathing is mechanical, assisted. Doctors and nurses check him every hour, waiting for him to die. He doesn't die. March 13th, 1940, 7 days after the shooting. Simo is still unconscious, still fighting. And on this day, something else happens. In Moscow, Soviet and Finnish diplomats sign a peace treaty. The Winter War is over. Finland cedes 11% of its territory. The Karelian Isthmus, land near Leningrad, islands in the Gulf of Finland. Simo's home village of Rotjärvi now belongs to the Soviet Union. But Finland maintains its independence. Against all odds, against every prediction, a nation of 3.5 million people fought the Soviet Union to a standstill. Soviet casualties, over 300,000 killed or wounded, maybe as high as 400,000. The numbers are so embarrassing that Stalin suppresses them. Finnish casualties, 65,000. The world is stunned. Finland shouldn't have survived, but it did. And on the same day peace is declared, Simo Häyhä opens his eye. Not eyes, eye, singular. His left side is too damaged, too swollen, but his right eye opens, focuses slowly on the ceiling. On the nurse standing beside his bed, he tries to speak. The sound that comes out is barely human, a wet, grinding whisper through destroyed tissue and rebuilt bone. Did we hold? The nurse, a woman who's seen hundreds of wounded men, starts crying. She nods. Can't speak. Just nods frantically. Simo closes his eye, goes back to sleep. But now the doctors know he's going to survive. The months that follow are agony. Multiple surgeries, facial reconstruction, bone grafts, skin grafts, learning to eat again, learning to speak again. Every word is pain. Every swallow is struggle. His face is permanently disfigured, scarred. The left side reconstructed, but never quite right. He'll never look the same, never smile the same, never speak clearly again. But he's alive. When he's strong enough to sit up, Finnish military command visits. They bring news and honors. Field Marshal Carl Gustaf Emil Mannerheim, the commander of all Finnish forces, has personally promoted Simo Häyhä from corporal to second lieutenant, jumping multiple ranks. Unheard of. He's awarded the Cross of Kollaa, Silver Medallion, number 4, only given to the fiercest defenders of that impossible sector. There's talk of awarding him the Mannerheim Cross, the highest military honor Finland can give, reserved for the most extraordinary acts of valor. Only 191 people received it during the entire war. Simo's name is submitted, recommended, supported by his commanders. It's denied. Administrative technicality, something about the paperwork, the timing. Years later, historians will debate whether it was bureaucracy or politics. Simo doesn't care. He has his rifle, he has his life. Finland is free. That's enough. 1941. The continuation war begins. Finland fights alongside Germany against the Soviet Union. Simo wants to return to combat, wants to fight again. Finnish command refuses. His injuries are too severe. His face barely functions. He can't eat properly, can't speak properly, can't aim a rifle for more than a few minutes before pain overwhelms him. He's sent home, given a pension, made a national symbol of Finnish resistance, the White Death who survived, the farmer who saved Finland. But home isn't home anymore. 1945, the war is truly over. Simo's farm, the land his father worked, the land he grew up on, is now on the Soviet side of the new border. Everything he knew is gone. The village where he was born, the forests where he learned to hunt, the fields he plowed. All Soviet territory now. At age 40, Simo Häyhä has to start over. New land, new farm, new life. For most heroes, this is where the story ends. The triumph, the medals, the recognition. Then a quiet fade into history. But for Simo Häyhä, the hardest battles were just beginning. The guns are silent. The war is over. Simo Häyhä is 40 years old. He moved to Valkjärvi in the municipality of Ruokolahti, buys a small farm, start over, plows fields, plants crops, tends animals. The work his father taught him, the work he did before the war made him a legend. But nothing is the same. His face is permanently scarred. The left side was reconstructed, but clearly damaged. When he speaks, the words come out slurred, difficult to understand. Eating is a challenge. Drinking is a challenge. Simple things most people never think about. He lives alone, never marries, never has children. Years later, in one of his rare interviews, he'll say something that breaks your heart. The loneliness was worse than the cold. Think about that. A man who spent 100 days in negative 40-degree temperatures, who endured physical trauma that should have killed him, who rebuilt his life from nothing. And the loneliness was worse. Fame, it turns out, is a complicated thing, especially when your fame comes from killing people. Simo can't go anywhere without being recognized. His scarred face makes him instantly identifiable. People stare, point, whisper. Some approach with respect, want to shake his hand. Thank him for saving Finland. Others look at him with something darker. Resentment, disgust. Finland lost 11% of its territory. Hundreds of thousands of people were displaced. Families destroyed. And this man, this scarred farmer, is celebrated as a hero? Simo receives death threats, anonymous letters calling him a murderer, a monster, saying he enjoyed killing, that he's no better than the Soviets he fought against. It doesn't matter that he saved lives, that his kills prevented Soviet advances, that without men like him, there would be no independent Finland. To some people, he's just a killer, 505 times over. He starts avoiding crowds, large gatherings, public events, stays on his farm, works, keeps to himself. The nights are the worst. Nightmares, flashbacks. He wakes up seeing faces, Soviet soldiers in his crosshairs. The moment before they die, the impact, the way they fall. He never talks about it, never seeks help. This is 1945. There's no PTSD diagnosis, no therapy, no support groups for traumatized veterans. You just deal with it, alone. But Simo finds something that helps, something that brings him peace. Hunting. He returns to the forests he's known since childhood, not to kill people, to hunt moose, deer, game birds. The same animals he hunted as a boy, before the war, before the White Death, and he's good at it. Of course he's good at it. He becomes one of the most successful moose hunters in Finland. People hire him as a guide. He breeds hunting dogs, Finnish hounds, trains them personally. Word spreads about his skills. Finnish presidents, multiple presidents over the decades, invite him on hunting trips. Not as a war hero, as a hunter, a man who knows the forest better than anyone alive. In the wilderness, away from people, away from stares and whispers, Simo finds peace. The forest doesn't judge, doesn't ask questions, doesn't care about the scars on his face or the deaths on his conscience. It just exists. And so does he. Simo Häyhä is 92 years old. A Finnish journalist convinces him to do a rare interview. The journalist asks the question everyone wants answered. How did you become such a good sniper? Simo's answer is one word. Practice. The journalist waits for more. Surely there's more. Some secret technique, some innate gift, some deep philosophical insight. Simo just looks at him. Practice. Then the journalist asks a harder question. Do you feel remorse for the men you killed? Simo considers this. When he speaks, his words are careful, measured, honest. I did what I was told, as well as I could. There would be no Finland unless everyone had done the same. No boasting, no glorification, no claims of righteousness. Just a simple statement of fact. He had a job. He did it. Finland survived because men like him did their jobs. That's all. But let's talk about those numbers, because they're almost impossible to believe. Official Finnish military records: 505 confirmed sniper kills with his rifle, 219 additional kills with his Suomi KP-31 submachine gun during close quarters combat. Total, 724 confirmed kills. Some sources claim over 800. Soviet documents, the ones that survived, suggest the number might be even higher. But Soviet records from the Winter War were often destroyed or falsified for political reasons. Simo's own memoir, discovered in 2017, 15 years after his death, simply says around 500. His division commander credited him with 219 rifle kills and 219 submachine gun kills. Perfectly balanced, suspiciously neat. Maybe the real numbers were approximated for official records. Here's what we know for certain. Historians, military analysts, and researchers worldwide all agree on one thing. Simo Häyhä is the most lethal sniper in military history. No one else is close. Chris Kyle, the American sniper, had 160 confirmed kills over multiple deployments spanning years. Vasily Zaitsev, the Soviet sniper from the Battle of Stalingrad, immortalized in the movie Enemy at the Gates, had 242 confirmed kills. Both extraordinary, both legendary in their own right. Simo Häyhä, 505 confirmed kills in 98 days, in 4 to 5 hours of usable daylight per day, in negative 40-degree weather, using only iron sights, against 500,000 enemy soldiers. Do the math. That's an average of 5 kills per day, every single day, for over 3 months. In the harshest conditions imaginable, it's not just a record, it's a record that will likely never be broken. Over the decades, Simo's legend grows. In 1983, a museum opens in Miettila with a permanent exhibition about his life. In 2004, he's ranked the 74th greatest Finn of all time in a national poll. Metal bands write songs about him. Sabaton's White Death introduces a new generation to his story. Military academies worldwide study his tactics. Modern sniper training programs teach techniques he pioneered. The man who just wanted to farm has become immortal. But Simo himself, he just keeps living, quietly, simply. Eventually, farm work becomes too difficult. The injuries, age, the cumulative wear on a body that endured too much. He moves to an apartment in Ruokolahti Center. In 1972, at age 67, he buys a yellow Volkswagen 1300, drives himself around town, still independent, still self-sufficient. His final years are spent in a veterans nursing home in Hamina. Not because he needs constant care, but because he wants to be around people who understand. Other veterans, other men who fought, who know what it's like to carry those memories. April 1, 2002. Simo Häyhä dies peacefully of natural causes. He's 96 years old. He outlived the Soviet Union itself. The empire that sent 500,000 men to crush Finland collapsed in 1991. Simo lived another 11 years, saw the enemy state cease to exist. He's buried in Ruokolahti Church Cemetery. The grave is simple, no grand monument, no elaborate sculpture, just a headstone with his name and dates. 1905-2002. That's all. So what's the lesson here? What do we take from the story of Simo Häyhä? Maybe it's this. When your country calls, you answer. You show up, you do your job, you come home if you can. No speeches, no glory, no excuses. Just duty, done with terrifying excellence. Simo was 5'3". In a world that values height and physical strength, he proved size doesn't matter. He used iron sights. In an era when technology was rapidly advancing, he proved technology doesn't matter. He was outnumbered 12-1. Maybe more. He proved numbers don't matter. What matters? Skill, discipline, patience, purpose. But there's one mystery that remains. One question nobody could ever answer definitively. Why did he smile? Fellow Finnish soldiers reported it consistently. Even in the worst conditions, negative 40 degrees, under artillery fire, exhausted from 12-hour shifts, Simo had a slight smile. Not a grin, not joy. Just a small, peaceful smile. Was it confidence? Was it the peace that comes from knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be? Doing exactly what you're meant to do? Was it love of the hunt? The primal satisfaction of mastering a difficult craft? He never said. And maybe that's how it should be. Maybe some mysteries should stay mysteries. Close your eyes and picture this. Winter 1940. Somewhere in the Finnish forest. Snow falling gently. Temperature negative 40. Simo Häyhä has been in position for 11 hours. Hasn't moved, hasn't shifted weight, hasn't broken discipline. Once, 400 meters away, Soviet soldiers are searching for him. Desperately. They know he's out there. They know he's watching. They just can't find him. Simo's breath is controlled, invisible through the snow in his mouth. His heart rate is calm. His hands are steady. His rifle, serial number 60974, is an extension of his body. One more target appears. One more shot needed. His finger tightens on the trigger, and if you were close enough, if you could see through his camouflage past the snow, into that moment, you'd see it, that slight smile. And then one word, barely whispered, practice. What other World War II stories fascinate you? Tell me in the comments below. This script took weeks of research, digging through Finnish military archives, Soviet documents, first-hand accounts. If you appreciate deep-dive historical content like this, help me reach more history lovers by subscribing. Next video. The soldier who refused to surrender for 29 years. Hidden in the jungle. Fighting a war that had already ended. Coming soon. Thanks for watching. And remember, size doesn't matter. Technology doesn't matter. Numbers don't matter. What matters is showing up, doing your job, and never, ever giving up.